Hello, I am Magela Pillai and I'm a judicial officer from Africa, and we are here today to interview Sister Denise. Sister Denise is the first Brahma Kumari who has taken knowledge from the institution in the West over 40 years ago, and we're here today to explore various aspects of the Brahma Kumaris, as well as to debunk certain myths regarding the institution, and also to ask previously unasked questions regarding the Brahma Kumaris. A little bit about the institution. The Brahma Kumaris has been in existence in India for just over 77 years, and as far as the West is concerned, the Brahma Kumaris has activities there in over 120 countries. The topic that we're now going to take up is that of spirituality, and more specifically, how does one lead a spiritual life in the material world? Sister Denise, there are many, welcome to this afternoon's program.
Thank you.
There are many who think that it is impossible to lead a spiritual life in the material world. How would you say that this is even possible?
It's true that traditionally the idea is there are regular people in the regular world and the spiritual people go up on the mountains or go into the caves and they separate themselves from the world. But this is Easy Raj Yoga. This is called Easy Raj Yoga, and it is designed to be integrated into regular life. So the idea is that you develop and sustain a spiritual dimension of your consciousness in the surroundings of a material world.
Okay. What would you say to people who think that it is impossible to integrate the two?
Well, we say come and try. And this is why we have centers in cities and towns. It's really like a school. And so you come, you meditate, you study, and then you practice the ideas in the laboratory of your everyday life. Because Raj Yoga, which is the name of the practice, is designed to bring a spiritual dimension, component, feeling into the reality of human life. So human life is spiritual in its fundaments. We have become very materialistic for certain reasons, but otherwise the human being is fundamentally spiritual, and from your essential spirituality you express that in the material world. So it's actually not at all in opposition as people think.
What would motivate the ordinary person, somebody leading a family life, to embark on a spiritual journey?
There are many things that make a person start to bring spirituality in their lives. Some people, they feel that the materialistic life is unsatisfactory. There's something missing. Sometimes you have difficulties in relationships, difficulties of concentration. You wonder why there is so much violence, so much evil in the world. And when a person starts thinking about this, it brings them a little bit onto a spiritual track. And this is what brings them eventually to the Brahma Kumaris.
Okay. How does one maintain a balance between leading a spiritual life and also leading what is called, in inverted commas, a normal life?
Well, actually, spiritual life is quite normal. But it's natural. Let me say it's natural. And normal has become really very lacking in that dimension. The world is based on commercial principles, material principles. Science has said, you are a body. Spirituality says you have a body. That's different. And when you say you are a body, then there are certain consequences of that idea. The inner life becomes like an arid desert, and people start to feel that lack, and then they really want to bring that in. Because you can say that in ancient times, people were much more connected to the spiritual component, and really since, maybe even we can say since the Second World War, where the world has gone and totally focused on the material side of things, that people have found that in a way it has failed them. And this is why people start to question now what has happened to family. Why is there so much dysfunctionality? Why are people not able to love? Why are people not able to experience peace? Why is there so much anxiety? All of this is because the essential components of the human spirit are not being nurtured. And so the practice of Raj Yoga is really about nurturing your essential love, your essential peace, your inner strength, happiness. All of these things are inherent to the human being.
Is it possible to be successful in worldly terms and also to be successful spiritually? What happens if one is motivated to lead a career which requires a certain amount of worldly ambition? How does one marry the two?
Well, look at your own life, you know. You have been looking at Brahmakumaris in the last little while. You have been, beginning to adopt some of it, but you have your career in the judiciary, and you have to have ambition if you're going to climb up the ladder. But what would you say for your own life? What would you say?
I believe it is possible, but...
Do you find it difficult?
It is challenging. I won't say difficult. It is challenging.
But why is it challenging?
It requires one to be very careful as regards your choices.
Well, that's good, no?
Yes, I would say
that's good.
Yeah.
Because you become aware of the consequences, don't you? I mean, part of spirituality is you learn about karma. And that means whatever choice you make, whatever action you do, there are going to be consequences. Consequences to you personally, consequences to the people who are around you. And so, yes, we do have to be careful.
How would you define a successful spiritual person?
Well, again, I think we have to look at ourselves. In the world, of course, success is how much money do you have, how many, status symbols do you have, how big is your house, how many cars have you got, how much influence do you wield politically, socially, and so on. And if you look at it from a spiritual angle, how much power do you have over your own emotions, over your own mind? Do you have relationships in your family relationships, your professional relationships? Are they quality relationships? As you grow older, you start looking back on your life and seeing what kind of a life story are you leaving behind. And our lives are there as examples for the next generation. People are interested in some kind of role model because there have been so many failures, so many people who look very successful, and then all of a sudden some scandal breaks and they turn out not to be as they presented themselves. So I think nowadays we're very interested in transparency. We want people who are solid. Well, you know, you yourself are just, you know, looking into this, and you've got your career on one side and you're beginning to develop your spiritual, you know, few footsteps and so on. So in the beginning, we're just, you know, evaluating it and seeing, is this doable, and evaluating now how much benefit am I getting and so on. Sometimes we talk about it as a journey. Now, I have been doing this 40 years, so since my early 20s. And that means that anyway you pass through the different aspects of life, the different stages of life, and at every step you're going more subtle, more deep. You do experience many challenges because human nature is mixed. We have our dark side, we have our light side, and one of the things we have to do is come to terms with the shadow. So that can be a challenge.
What do you mean, shadow?
The shadow, the dark side of yourself. You know, we all like to say, okay, I'm pure, I'm peaceful, I'm loveful, I'm wonderful, marvelous and fantastic, but you also have another side. You know, everybody has their weaknesses, character defects, you see. And what spirituality asks us to do is unpack the whole character and really take a look, okay, what are your qualities? What are your defects? You know, do you understand yourself? Do you know yourself? And if you do have defects, then what are they? Why are you holding on to them? What do you have to do to get beyond them, to get free from them? That's a very important part. There are 4 subjects that we cover in Raj Yoga. And one of them is the spiritual knowledge, to really deepen our understanding of what does it mean to say, I'm a soul, I'm a spiritual being. What are the implications? And as we apply this, we experience blocks. And then when you get a block, then you have to deal with that. What does it mean to say, okay, I am bringing into my life a relationship with God and into my relationship with the world, you see. So that is another whole thing to work out. A relationship with God is very subtle, very subjective, very private. And what does it do is it gives you your strength. What people normally do in the world is they depend on family, money, community, their reputation, certain things which are ephemeral. And every so often in life, these things that are your support system, well, they give way. And then where are you? So if you have a good, solid spiritual base, then if you are challenged with illness, with accident, with any number of things that come up in life, which we would also say, well, there is an impact of your past karma, but then you have to have strength in order to deal with it and get through it. And of course, these things are going to increase your solidity, make you wise, make you strong. And so they're challenges, but they also strengthen you. They also make you a better person, depending on how you handle it, you see. So these things, it's a course of study. Sometimes even we say, okay, the world is like a battlefield. And this example has been given in the Gita, which we do talk about quite a bit in Brahmakumaris, the knowledge of the Gita. So there you are in the battlefield of life. What are your weapons? We talk about powers of yoga. Tolerance, patience, adaptability, ability to face opposition, ability to, stand aside when necessary, to come in front when it's wise to do that. All of these weapons make you flexible, make you very competent as a human being, you see. So then we have the other subject of yoga. What is yoga? The ability to, make oneself completely detached from the physical and actually take light from God and fill yourself with the qualities that are the essential qualities of a human spirit, and then apply them, you see. Then we have another subject, which is the development of divine virtues. Everybody has vices, everybody has weaknesses, and then the other side of it is you have strengths, you have qualities, you have values, you have powers. So these have to be cultivated, character development. And then the fourth area is service. So one of our important purposes in this world is to make a contribution, to give for the benefit of other people. This actually is one of the important components that makes you happy. So every day you work on all of these things.
Earlier, you used the expression easy Raja Yoga.
Easy.
Is it?
Well, it's not so easy.
Yes. Explain.
It's easy in comparison with some things that one has to do in some of the traditional spiritual practices, which are really very difficult on the physical level. The Raj Yoga, you don't require any particular physical positions, you don't have to do breath control or any of these other things. You simply have to be aware of your soul, aware of your relationship with God, and aware of the fact that you're an actor and you must be careful with your choices, as you were saying early. So that's easy, not difficult, but it's subtle. And it's the subtlety of it that makes it difficult, because we tend to be in quite a gross consciousness a lot of the time. And so we have to again and again bring ourselves into this very subtle state of soul consciousness.
Over 77 years, the institution has only managed to accumulate approximately 1 million members.
Well, we wouldn't call ourselves members. I mean, I personally don't call it an institution.
Mm-hmm.
I would, we use the expression, the Hindi expression yagya, parivar. It's a family.
Okay.
And a yagya means a sacrificial fire. A sacrificial fire is a very subtle thing. You've often heard probably this expression that yoga is a fire. And the fire of yoga in this case is a very stable stage of consciousness in which the character weaknesses actually get neutralized through the mental powers of yoga. And so in order for us to really, be real, be true to ourselves, you can't do that in an institution. It's something very deep, very personal. And so the sort of institutional component provides you with the buildings and the necessary physical arrangements so that you can do your spiritual practice and your spiritual study. But I wouldn't identify myself as a member of an institution, but rather as, a person who benefits from the arrangements so that I can actually pursue my studies, my spiritual practice. And in a way, everyone who is a Raj Yogi is on their own. On your own in the face of yourself, you're on your own in the face of the divine, and whatever you do, whatever your karma is, you will get the fruit of that, not somebody else will get the fruit of my karma, you see.
Mm.
So I see it as really as a community more than an institution.
Okay. The Brahmakumaris community has, over the last 77 years, managed to accumulate only 1 million members, approximately. Why so less in context of global population?
I think one of the things is that the spiritual practice is not something that everybody decides, okay, this is going to be the main thing in my life. You know, most people, for people, they want to, you know, get some education, get married, have children, make some money, and that's it, you know. So those people who really want to develop the spiritual component, they become attracted here. And so we want to make available the basic elements of the practice to whoever would wish. But of course, if you want to become a full-on Raj Yogi, then that means that you really want to do the work on yourself. And I think this is probably why. And you know, 1 million people doing this kind of thing is quite a lot. If you take, for example, regular religion, the conventional, the great religions of the world, the large population of the religion will practice it, and there'll be a few people within that who are the like the monks, the nuns, the people who will really do it in a deep way. And actually the practice of Raj Yoga corresponds a little bit to that side, because we will meditate every day. We'll get up early in the morning. We will make the spiritual part of our lives quite important. You know, it depends on the individual, but you can make it the center of your life, and of course then, you know, you're likely to become a teacher as well. But you know, anybody who is doing this, they're doing it pretty much full on. And I think that that's another reason why it's not that large of a number of people. There are many, many people who come and participate in events and programs and courses and so on. But if we say that somebody is a Brahma Kumar or Brahma Kumari, somebody who's really doing the full practice, they might even be said to be equivalent to you know, a monk or a nun or a priest in one of the conventional religions. So in that case, it's quite a large number.
There may be many who are interested in what the Brahma Kumaris has to offer, but do not have the motivation to lead a spiritual life because of the disciplines involved in it. What would you say to such a person?
Well, I think, as I mentioned before, you come, you taste, you like, you take more. Each person is very individual, and I think even when we begin this, we don't even know ourselves whether it will really become very important in our lives or not. So we have to go step by step, and each one does it in their own way. I don't think it's appropriate to try and force a person. You know, you just say, okay, this is the information. This is the practice. Here are some people who are doing it, and then you see how you feel. I think that's a better way to do it. I mean, we would encourage someone, but you know, there's a balance between encouraging someone and putting pressure on a person. If you put pressure on a person, why would you do that? That's not right, you know. But definitely the people feel very, very good if there is somebody who will try to understand them, to mentor them, to encourage them, and help them to find their speed, you know.
Okay. Thank you, Sister Denise. I think we've come to the end of today's segment, and we will see you next time. Thank you.